Our next speaker is Neil Schneider. Neil is going to be talking about Immersive Technology at UOIT. Neil is the manager of Immersive Technology Services for the Faculty of Business and ITQ University. He's also the founder of Meant to be Seen, which is can be found at mtbs3d.com, and executive director of the S-3D Gaming Alliance. Mr. Schneider is a recognized expert in the realms of stereoscopic 3D and virtual reality technology gaming. That's a mouthful. With the advent of augmented reality, virtual reality, and a growing number of affordable devices, we are approaching a point where ideas once limited to the imagination are starting to impact our day-to-day business and cost-effective. Mr. Schneider will discuss the latest innovations in the field, what resources are available to local businesses today, and the promising future that lays ahead. Join me in welcoming him on stage.
Okay, good morning. I think you could all hear me. So thank you for the introduction. You saved me some time on the first slide. So really just to reiterate, my job here at UOIT within the Faculty of Business and IT is Manager of Immersive Technology Services. We talked about Meant to be Seen. MTBS3D.com is a site I founded several years ago. It's become a huge community of gamers and VR experts. And as far as the S3D Gaming Alliance, a non-profit organization that represents the needs and interests of game developers and technology enablers, its roots were in stereoscopic 3D, but it has since grown into immersive technology as well. Now, within UOIT, or Faculty of Business, Faculty of Business and IT within UOIT, we have a popular game development program. It features as many as 300 concurrent students each year. That includes undergrad, graduate, as well as postgraduates. And you know, up until recently, it had year-over-year growth of as much as 30%. And we're actually, you know, pretty much approaching capacity. It's a very popular program. Now, what's on the menu today? Well, first and foremost, I'm going to discuss what is immersive technology. We're going to talk about the elements of immersive tech and why is this technology so important right now. And finally, what resources does our Faculty of Business and IT have that could be beneficial? And of course, hoping to have a little bit of fun as well. So, what is immersive technology? By the way, that's Dr. Andrew Ho. He's assistant professor in the game development program here at UOIT. Immersive technology refers to anything that makes you feel like you are inside the environment, you are part of this artificial environment. And another type of immersive technology is we change the way you experience life around you. So let's say I'm looking at this room, let's take, you know, what we call augmented reality. I would adjust the way I see the world. So it's almost artistically changing our life. So what are the immersive elements? Well, first off, stereoscopic 3D. So we all have two eyes for a very good reason. What happens is each of our eyes gets a unique perspective. Each of these views gets passed to our brain. Our brain combines this left and right view, and we get this full, what we call a stereoscopic 3D experience. It's very important because it gives us important depth cues. So, for example, if I'm a microsurgeon, if I'm a surgeon and I need to know what I'm doing, it's very helpful to have those stereoscopic 3D cues. Same as if I'm an airline pilot and I need to know how to land my plane. Very important information. It makes the imagery more immersive. If I'm going to look at a slide or a picture, yes, it's very nice to look at a picture. But if it's in stereoscopic 3D, it's suddenly not a picture, it's a windshield. And I can see things deep inside that windshield, and sometimes I can see things coming out towards me, like glass breaking in front of me. And so it provides more information to the viewer that otherwise wouldn't have been there. So when it comes to technology, or stereoscopic 3D technology, it works in three steps. We have to recreate nature. So through software, or another way of doing it is through film. In fact, I've got a 3D camera filming this right now, 2 separate lenses. We create a left and right view. The left and right view is passed on to the display. So the display could be a 3D television, it could be a 3D screen that we see in the movie theaters, it could be glasses 3D technology that we see in like a Nintendo 3DS, for example. And there's then a filtration technology. So the most popular type of filter technology would be glasses. So just by show of hands, how many of you have actually seen a 3D movie in a movie theater? Okay, so you've all, if I did this presentation 3 years ago, it may have been half the room. So it's interesting how the company's changed. So very popular. Usually they're either shutter glasses or polarized glasses. In fact, in the other room we have a polarized 3D display. The other method is what we call glasses-free or stereoscopic. And it's a little complex to explain how it works. It's not the purpose of the presentation. But what matters is it's another way of showing 3D without the need for glasses. And this is popular, again, with mobile gaming systems. We're going to see more work in this in the mobile field as well. There's a company called iFly 3D, which actually has a 3D add-on for iPods, iPhones, and they're actually working on Android devices as well. There's also been recent announcements of upcoming 3D tablets, which is very exciting, and software support for these 3D tablets. So the mobile industry is actually a very interesting space for stereoscopic 3D support. Now we're going to start getting closer to what I work with, head-mounted displays. Head-mounted displays, they're up until recently, you could really consider them personal viewers. What that means is instead of like a television where you can have several people in the room sharing that experience, a head-mounted display is one-to-one viewing. And the way it works is instead of having a display and the imagery is filtered with a pair of glasses, they actually put an independent screen in front of each of your eyes. No avoiding looking at what you're seeing through a head-mounted display. Another thing that makes head-mounted displays unique is some of them can feature head tracking. So head tracking means that as you move your head around, the environment in the digital world will change accordingly. So that's actually an advanced feature. And unfortunately, until recently, head-mounted displays have been very low-resolution solutions, and if they are high-resolution, they're very expensive. I mean, we're talking about units that are like tens of thousands of dollars. They're usually reserved for the military. Another challenge with head-mounted displays is, when we experience the world, we have like our eyes at maybe 170, close to 180 degrees worth of field of view that we see. We have a peripheral vision, that's what we're seeing in the center. But with a head-mounted display, because of the limitations of how the displays are in front of our eyes, the technology that's readily available, we're actually limited to maybe 35 to 45 degrees of view. Sometimes more, but again, that gets very expensive. So this really diminishes the immersive nature of a head-mounted display. Now, head-mounted displays have been around for a really long time. This slide actually is a couple of years old. And this is just a summary of all the different head-mounted displays that have been released over the years. So it's not new technology, but it's just something that never quite took off, at least for consumers. Either expensive, very niche market. No one can seem to agree on how to go about doing it properly. Look at all those option pieces I'm talking, it's still going and going and going. So now it's time to talk about a recent development, something that's really, I think, really exciting. I'm going to share with you the story of optics. Just by show of hands, how many of you have heard of optics? Okay, all right, so that's good. So you'll like this one. Or at least it'll be new territory for you. So let me first tell you about a gentleman named Palmer Luckey. Palmer, by profession, was a head-mounted display designer for a company called ICT MXR, and they were a military research lab. But separate from that, he was also a hobbyist, friend, because he was moderating our discussion forums on Human to Be Seen. And he actually has this huge collection of head-mounted displays that he's collected. Hospitals throw out equipment, and pick it up. He just got this big collection of head-mounted displays. Now, let me introduce you now to a gentleman named John Carmack. John Carmack is the co-founder of id Software. Just by show of hands, how many of you play video games? Okay, game. So, so you are being quite honest, because apparently over 50% of adults play video games. So not only do we kind of clean. But nonetheless, John Carmack is really a major industry pioneer, because he's the one who pretty much invented the first-person shooter. So when we're talking about a first-person shooter, we're talking about any game that's like a first perspective. Like you're literally looking to the eyes of the character in the video game. You might be using a gun, but you have a wand or your hands. All that is very much based on John's work. And the games that pretty much launched this industry were Doom, Quake, Rage, Return to Castle, Wolfenstein. These are all titles that John originated, and the industry really owes a lot to his work. And yes, as a side career, he launches rockets too. He has an interest in a private space program. He's heavily invested in that as well. He's a very interesting guy. Now, what happened with Palmer is through our website, he was tinkering with head-mounted display items. He was frustrated. There's no reason why, after 20, 30 years, we're not getting decent HMDs, I'm a gamer, I want to make games in virtual reality. So he started posting his ideas, started creating prototypes himself in forums. Well, what happened was John was also following the forums, and he said, hey, Palmer, can you send me a prototype? I'd really like to check this out. So John was so impressed by what he saw, what Palmer literally duct taped together. He actually showed it at E3 last year. He was showing it with Doom 3, like his last iteration of Doom, his game, and he had it specially adjusted to show it in virtual reality form. And he not only got an endorsement from John Carmack, but he also got an endorsement by Mike Pratt, co-founder of Valve, actually, who was also working with John earlier in the series. So their goal was using a crowdfunding resource, Kickstarter. Just by show of hands, how many of you are familiar with Kickstarter? Okay, so for those that aren't, it's a way to raise money without having to give up equity. It's a great way of launching projects, from the ground up. So their goal was to raise $250,000 so that they could build these software development kits, hardware, and to send it out to game developers to try to support. So guess how much they raised? They raised almost $2.5 million. Very exciting development. So it's estimated that they shipped out about 13,000 software development kits. And the software development kit, which isn't the final product, it's more of a prototype, features 110 degrees of diagonal field of view, which is magnitudes more than anything you've seen on the market, at least at the consumer level. It's a temporarily low-resolution solution, which means that it's kind of pixelated compared to what many would like, but it's still radically far above anything we've seen today. And they also added head tracking, which, if you remember earlier, you can move your head around, the environment changes, and they were offering a head tracker, which is even better than what's been available to the market. So very exciting stuff. And it was just announced at E3, a colleague of mine was there, he took pictures that they showed a prototype of a high-resolution Oculus Rift, which is a 1080p display. That's the same as what you get on your home television. These are unheard of for consumer markets. So what do game developers say? I love this slide because this was actually taken by a website called Road to VR. Just before the exhibit doors open, they want to capture people running into the conference room trying to try out the Oculus Rift. So this is the GDC, which is the biggest conference for game developers. Look at them go. They called it, if I play the video long enough, you'll hear them say, oh, it's the front of the Rift. But what I really like is you can tell that their eyes are saying they want to gallop. Their bodies are trying to, show their kind of unbridled enthusiasm. Look at them go. They're almost embarrassed that they're running so fast. I wish I had a picture of it because it was like an onion. So the line went round, and they really unbelievable, tremendous success. Now they've also got confirmed software support as far as big companies are concerned, like Valve is a big supporter. They've gradually been converting their older games to support a special VR mode for the Oculus Rift. Game engine makers, Epic, Unity, others as well have announced support. And independent game developers, similar to the way that Posttraumatic product launched. Cloudhead Games. I mean, there's a list of independent game developers that are getting their start by announcing support for Oculus, raising $90,000 online, and actually following through and creating new products in Canada. Actually, Cloudhead Games is based in Vancouver, so very exciting stuff. So next up is haptics. I just use that because it's scary. You don't actually see it. The haptics usually refers to touch. So we're talking about vibrations, physical movement, resistance to physical movement. Now, I'm going to show you, UOIT was a primary partner on a research initiative called IGO 3D, and the purpose of that was to do stereoscopic, 3D, and Immersive Tech, 3D gaming research, and funded by the Ontario Media Development Corporation, as well as the Ontario Centres of Excellence. And one of the projects was at OCAD-U by Professor Michael Tage. And what he did was he created a drum set that had this haptics feature mixed with holograms. So I'm actually, this slide doesn't do it justice. I'm actually going to show you a very brief interview segment where it's explained how it works. You know, I'm going to turn the lights out. That works. Okay, so let's just, there it goes. Okay. What I'm gathering, what happens here, I think, is you've got this hologram of a drum set. Because you can actually walk around this drum set, see it from all different angles. And then you've got the drumstick, I gather, is digital?
Video, it's a 3D graphic. And so as I move the drumstick out in three-dimensional space, it becomes larger. It's almost exaggerated. And then as I push deep into the haptic space, the drumstick becomes a bit smaller. But otherwise, later we will have head tracking using a Connect device, which will create the video parallax that allows the video to compare to the holographic parallax. And those two things should sit absolutely inside of each other.
So just to be clear, those drums that you saw were a hologram. It's just flat projection. The drumstick was a digital overlay. And the drum set that you see Michael holding there is actually haptics. As you press on the drum, it would resist. It wouldn't actually be able to push through the drum. So it actually had a whole sense of a 3D physicality. Very, very interesting stuff. Here's another demo. This was at GDC just this year. It's a haptic device by the University of Utah. And what the handle does is it actually gives you the sensation of the object that you're holding. It has little servo motors inside. So if you were holding a mace swirling it around, a mace, imagine it's like a stick with a ball at the end, a chain cord in the center, you kind of feel the sensations of mace. You feel the differences between a sword, a mace, and other types of things that you might be holding. So the game developers, they're really taking an interest in this stuff because it really adds something new to the gaming market. Now, this isn't released yet; it's still a research project, but I really see a future in stuff. Now, augmented reality. If you recall earlier in the presentation, I was explaining that another type of immersive tech is to change the world the way we experience our world around us. So I'm going to show you a video by a company called Scope AR Solutions. They're based in Edmonton, Alberta. What they do is they use augmented reality for training purposes. And this is a sample of the demo they did, where they're trying to show someone how to dismantle a water pump. And so what happens is you see the real world, and you have a digital overlay that they see through the augmented reality glasses. So it's pretty much self-explanatory.
Next shows the pump. And so now he's able to see which two bolts need to be removed and exactly where to place his hand in order to safely and effectively remove this pump body assembly. As you see, as he moves around in 3D, it stays perfectly aligned so that no matter if he doesn't understand what he needs to do, he can just keep moving around until he completely understands the task at hand. So he understands the task at hand, he sees it, now he does it. Next step, he's going to insert the slotted screwdriver blade into the impeller. Now, there's 20 different ways you can remove that impeller. The best way is exactly how we're showing it. So he's able to insert that screwdriver, tap it with a hammer, and it's going to spin it right off the end. Once again, he sees it and does it.
So this is a very exciting technology. We're starting to see other companies take advantage of things like this. Now, the final element of immersive tech, I'd have to say, is one of the final elements is interaction. And when we're talking about interaction, we're talking about gesture technology, body capture, head tracking, as I had described earlier. And we're always finding new ways. So it's not a finite industry. There's still a lot of discovery happening. So why is this important now? I mean, obviously, these technologies have been around for a while. Why is today important? Well, first off, the tools are readily available now. I mean, there's obviously, as I showed at GDC, it's published with $2.5 million raised in a month. As we showcased in the Scope AR, there's demonstrated demand from consumers as well as industry. The technology is more practical than it ever was before. There's a long history behind this, but we're at the point now where, after standing on the shoulders of giants, we really have some practical stuff out there. And it solves real problems. I mean, there's a good story behind that Scope AR test. What happened was a gentleman came by, said, would you like to try it? So, no, I've been working with these water pumps for years. I don't need to try this. Try it. So sure enough, tries it. And he comes back. You know what? I've been doing it wrong all these years. I had to lift this thing. Had I done this 20 years ago, you would have saved me a lot of heavy lifting. And finally, it saves money by mitigating risk. And what I mean by that is we can do things in the digital world before we do things in the real world. It's a lot easier to correct our mistakes and solve problems. So what resources can UOIT offer? Well, we have this is a brand new facility for us. We recently acquired a virtual reality cave. It's by EM Reality. It features 2 walls plus a floor. It has head tracking and water tracking, so again, these are changes as we move through it. And it's available for use by faculty, academia, as well as industry use. I'm just going to show you some pictures. So this is the outside of the cave. This is the inside of the cave. You can make it up. So what you really see is a corner here. So 2 walls on the floor, 3 projectors on the top, and that's one of 4 head tracking cameras. No, okay, I gotta be honest. How many of you, looking at this picture, think this is the most tedious contraption you've ever seen? Just, I myself, looking at this picture, is kind of draft. So I want to change your minds about that. I've actually got to put a demo together of what actually happens in the cave. So something to be aware of is normally a cave is a full stereoscopic 3D experience. So that means you see things as they are. But because this is recorded for you, it's not in 3D. So it's not quite the same experience, but I'll do my best to explain. So from my perspective, wearing 3D glasses, it's as though I could hold down. Okay? You notice how as I move around the room, the motion capture cameras see where I'm pointing, where I'm going. And the environment changes accordingly. So I'm wearing 3D glasses. You notice there are those little bulbs on the glasses, there are those extensions. That's how the cameras track my movement. And then you notice how I'm moving my body around, the environment changes. So just to explain, the importance of 3D using something like this. As I kneel down, from my point of view, it's as though the rings of Saturn can cut into my neck. It's not just a flat projection. This is one of my favorite demos. I walk in, I'm going to kneel forward. See, I look in. So from my point of view, my bum is in one room and my head is in the other. That's literally what's happening. So I'm going to walk in here. See, it's as though I'm right in the room. So now look at the light bulb on the right-hand side. See it. from my point of view, I could literally see all the different angles of the light bulb as though it's a separate part of the room. It's not just a flat projection. Same with the ceiling. I'm kneeling down and I actually see the ceiling. It's like you're really right in the room. And this is actually, I'll just show you one here. This is one of my favorite parts. Just going to move back a little bit. So I'm kneeling down and I'm looking at the branches and the twigs and I see all the different perspectives as if I'm right there. So really, really exciting stuff. So I know it's just a demo and I'm thinking, well, what do you use a room like that for? Well, it's very good for prototyping and engineering. So let's say I'm going to build a brand new car, or I'm an entrepreneur and I have a new widget I want to build. I can do it digitally and see how things are going to interact. Or big screens, so I can see things in fine details. Just by show of hands, how many of you have seen Iron Man? Iron Man 2? Iron Man 3? Okay, so you get the idea. So, I'm always moving around. That's kind of a feature. That's something that, we'd like to see done in anything. Architectural design. This is very exciting. Durham, of course, is a growing region. If you're going to put up a building, yes, you can work with a blueprint, but it's a lot more interesting if you could actually walk through that building, go to each floor, see how it's constructed and put together. It's a much different experience. Of course, the cable can be used for research. There's marketing potential as well, for people to show things in interesting ways. This is something actually I discovered recently. Some key areas, post-traumatic stress disorder. What happens is, people put people in environments to get over certain things that have happened in life, like the military, for example. Another area that I learned about was educating autistic children, because for whatever reason, they're much more comfortable in the virtual reality world versus the real world. So there is an example of cave being used for that purpose. And again, there's more still discovering ways that a cave like this can be used. So, now the cave is just one part of our facilities. We also have access to 3D monitors, HDTVs, Oculus Rift headsets, 3D mobile devices, augmented reality prototypes, gesture tech, and more. So we're really building up the facilities here. So our students and staff are prepared for the future immersive tech and the expertise around that. So what is UOIT's goal with immersive technology? Well, we see ourselves as fostering ideas with action and expertise. So people may have great ideas, but they don't have the means to follow through on them. So using technology like this, they can do that. They can innovate, they can research and development, study, and hopefully try it. And I already discussed Lego 3D, but this is just a sample of departments that were involved with that immersive technology research, electronic arts, safety bubble, Bedlam Games, digital extremes, and of course a number of leading Ontario universities as well, York, University of Western Ontario, Waterloo, and so on. So outside this room, in the atrium, maybe during lunch or after lunch, our students have set up special immersive technology demos for you. And this is something that they've custom programmed. We have an Oculus Rift virtual reality demo where you're actually driving a car. You can look around that car, it's trained driving in a different way. We have a 3D monitor at Battlefield 3, which was done as part of the IDO 3D gaming research. And this is more on the game development side, but one of our students, James Robb, programmed an accounting game. And it's the most fun you'll ever have in an accounting game ever. We have third-person perspectives, and it was actually not part by CGAO, which is by General Council of Ontario. And it's a new way of educating people in accounting skills. And you should try it out. I really think it's very innovative. We're very excited about it. So on that note, if you have any further questions, by all means, I'll be around during lunch, or you can keep in contact. So thank you so much.